Hello, I'm Jack Nichols and welcome to World Title. Amazing strategical call. It seems like Mantis Ricus was the one. Travel to the luscious scenery near Estoril and to the circuit which will play host to today's proceedings. 13 turns and 4.1 kilometers will negotiate a lap of the Portuguese circuit. A very popular circuit amongst the motorcyclists, but how will our drivers cope in the new Formula machinery? I'm Sweeney, joined again once again by the brilliant Felix van Delft. We will take you through today's action, brought to you of course by our gorgeous sponsors over at eSports, 3D Wrap and SimLab. So Felix, what have we got in store today?
Yeah, we've got a great race coming up today at, of course, the Portugal track here, Portugal GP. It is an interesting track, quite difficult, long corners, especially the final corner is a very long right hand. It's going to be very hard on those left tires of the car, especially the left rear will be struggling, and in the race we will probably see some guys struggle at the latter part of their racing stints, perhaps make some mistakes coming out of that final corner and perhaps get overtaken by their competitors coming into the first corner then. But of course, first we're gonna head into the qualifying session in just a little bit. Let's have a quick look though at the schedule of the 2021 Formula SimRacing Academy Championship. We've got the Portuguese Grand Prix today. In 2 weeks time we've got the German Grand Prix upcoming, which will also be a very nice race at the Nürburgring Grand Prix track, so definitely something to also keep an eye out on. But yeah, for now let's head into the Portugal Grand Prix.
Exactly, as you said, it's looking to be pretty good. 3 hot laps as per usual. They've only got a few minutes in qualifying to get it done, so about 3 hot laps, 1 out lap, 1 flying lap, and then an in lap of course, and then followed by 44 laps in the race. So it looks as though consistency is going to be very, very crucial. We've got cars out on track now, very bunched up together. I'm not too familiar with this Portuguese circuit, Felix, but it looks pretty challenging. Could we see a lot of overtakes, or is track position really important?
I think track position is indeed very important. There is some opportunity on that main straight and that middle straight that you can see on the track map on your bottom right of the screen as well. But track position is going to be very important. Coming out of that final corner, a little bit of dirty air will already unsettle the car if you're behind the driver, and probably the straight is a little bit too short to really have a big slipstream and make an overtake coming into turn 1. But we'll have to wait and see what actually is going to happen. We're on board with Pedro Gomez as he starts his first qualifying attempt of the day.
Needs to be very committed. Of course, he has got a couple of laps to get it done, so this is probably just going to be a bit of a sight that you can see, just trying to find the grip. Bit of a slide coming out of there though, and just trying to see where the grip is. I'm sure he's done a lot of practice in the last couple of days to make sure he's ready for today's Academy race, but just got to get to grips with the track ambience and the temperature and all the grip levels, because that's what you've got to do for your first run. It's the bank lap, that's what you're going to improve upon. But so far we've got Branthal on a provisional pole, 10.3, and Yana Kone just 2.5 tenths back, so it is looking pretty close up there. A lot of cars within a tenth, I believe, from around about 4th downwards. They are looking extremely close, and yeah, so everyone's just trying to find the grip, it seems.
Yeah, last week we had Harry Smith on pole position. Pedro Gomez was then in third as he comes into the final corner to finish his first qualifying lap. Montes Rekus started from second and he got the win in the end. So let's see what he can do as well today. Pedro Gomez coming across the line for his first attempt, goes up to second for now.
Very, very good first lap. Half a tenth off the provisional pole sitter of Branthel as it stands. So it is looking very close. Of course, a low lap time of a 1:10. There's not much time to actually make that time up. Only 13 corners here. So it is looking like it's going to be a very close qualifying session as they're, dissimilar to Imola. There's not a lot of time to be as committed as anyone else. So it is looking to be close. The person that probably gets on the power that little bit earlier, and last week's race winner Montes Rekus looking very, very struggling. He's bottled that first flyer, so he's going to be looking to be on the back foot for the rest of this qualifying session. Not what he wants. And last week's pole sitter Harry Smith, 7/10 off provisional pole. It looks like the top dogs are struggling to find their feet today.
Indeed, it's interesting to see. Perhaps could be somewhat down to that it's of course the second race of the season, the first race of the season. Everybody has an entire winter break almost to practice for the first race, but now you only have 2 weeks to practice for the second race. Perhaps a little bit of time coming into play that people don't have too much time to practice, but we'll have to wait and see what actually happens in the race. Of course, that is also going to be very important as Hendrik Rimates comes out of the final corner for his second attempt of the day and puts down a 1 minute 10.8 up to 10th place for now.
Definitely a good shout. Put him into the top 10. Very good shout. We've got Branthel, who was on provisional pole, now 2,000ths off as Hamming has actually got in front. He went green, purple, and then white. But Branthel on the purple to the first sector. This is looking like a pretty good lap. Just got to hook it up. He's only got a few more corners left to go as he's going to round off sector 2. It's white, so it's not going to be an improvement. So he's lost a little bit of time, but every little tiny bit of time counts. He's only got 4 minutes left. I'm presuming this is going to be his second run, so still got another one in the bank through this long, swooping, fast final corner and a long run to the timing line. That exit is crucial, and I'm sure in tow we're going to see a lot of stuff. Is it going to be provisional pole across the line? Yes, it is. Goes purple to the final sector and a 10th provisional pole. Great lap from Branthel then.
Indeed, a very good lap from Devo Branthel. Pedro Gomez, good first sector personal improvement, but not as quick as Devo Branthel was able to do in that first sector. Let's see what he can do in the second sector though. That's where Branthel struggled a little bit. And indeed, you can see Pedro Gomez purple through there. Perhaps a little bit of different philosophies for their wing angles. You can, I think on this track, it's really tricky. You can go lower wing and have a good second sector, or you can go a bit higher wing and have a good first and last sector. Let's see what Gomez does coming across the line. A very nice lap indeed. Provisional pole position with a 10.084 for Pedro Gomez.
Great lap indeed. 2 purple sectors, I believe I saw. The first sector maybe a little bit of time left on the table, but seemed to be good enough. Just under a 10th quicker than Branthel. A lot at stake, and there is such fine lines between these guys in Academy Series. It is so incredibly close, and not something you often see, of course, with motor racing. About a 10th of a second equates to about a year in real time. Despite going around about 200 miles an hour, time is virtually slowed down. Every little tiny bit of time counts. We see Mocarino go across the line. Is it going to be an improvement? Oh no, no, he's just starting another lap. Just starting his lap down into turn 1. Oh, bit of a slide, locks the rears. Very easy to do in these cars. I'm sure they're very, very on edge. But as you were alluding to earlier, Felix, yeah, it seems as though I'd say the lower wing could be pretty good. That long back straight invites slipstream, so you probably could get away with sacrificing that middle sector just that little bit to get the run down the straight, because that is going to be looking very important. You don't want to be vulnerable coming off that final corner.
Indeed, in the race it is going to be very important. But well, we'll have to wait and see how that turns out to be. Mocarino coming through that second sector right now. Those hairpin-ish corners. It's a really interesting track here. And I think also quite difficult to get the right car setup wise for that. And second sector, not an improvement for him. Final corner, perhaps he can gain a little bit on the straight. He's coming across the line. What will it be for him? Up to P3 provisionally. 1:10.2 with 1.5 minutes remaining in the session. And I think most drivers have one attempt left right now.
Well, they best got quick. If they want to complete that outlap, they've got about 6 seconds to get out on track, because even a pole time is a 1:10. So to have an outlap and set up the car and get it all sorted, you're going to want to be out there. We were on board with Frank Hamming at the moment. Currently sits P4. Just got toppled by Macarena there on his previous lap. So Frank Hamming is going to be entering the last sector in just a moment on his... Oh no, he is on a lap. He went white to sector 1. Not the best sector then. We've seen a lot of people in the 27s. Big slide coming in through there. Very easy to do. Just a bit eager on the power as Hamming. He's still got a couple of corners left to improve, but this is definitely not going to be the ideal laps. You can see how jagged he's been on that steering wheel, really wrestling this car. He goes white to the middle sector as well. This isn't looking like the best time. Macarena isn't going to get another lap in, so he's currently P3. Bit too much curve through the final corner for Hamming. This is going to compromise his run all the way to the line. This isn't probably going to be his best run. Into the pits he comes. So P4, he better hope his time's good enough, because he's got Andriami Ariosa right behind him in P5. If he improves, he could be in trouble when off the second row.
Yeah, current provisional pole position sitter Pedro Gomez is just coming through the first sectors, 27.7 roughly through there, as the timer just ran out. Everybody that hasn't started his lap is done with their qualifying. Let's see if Gomez can improve on his personal best. Pole position time for now. Second sector, it's where he struggled last time. Purple through there, ooh, but now he makes a bit of a mistake coming out of that right-hander, and his qualifying session is over. You better hope that his time is good enough, because there is another driver on a purple second sector. Pasciuto coming out of the final corner. If he's got a good enough last sector too, might be able to steal something away here. Up to P3 he goes with a 1 minute 10.195. Great lap from the Royal Blue driver there.
Definitely a good lap, really out of the blue. He was sort of languishing in that midfield, was Pasciuto. We saw him have a great battle last week and just sort of a quiet race in the midfield. But he goes a 10th off pole, and it is so close. Not even, couple of hundredths of a second off P2. So it is such fine lines, and I think we're in store for a great race. It's going to be a hard braking zone down into turn 1, a long run down into turn 1. So maybe starting P3 isn't such a bad thing after all. We see, in F1 in real life with Sochi. It is, it could work. But Pedro Gomez takes pole ahead of Brantham, who rounds out the top 2, ahead of Pasciuto in P3, Macarena in P4, Hamming P5, Iannacone in P6, and Lushak in P7. Andriami Ariosa dropped down to P8, and Yeletau in P9, with last week's pole sitter Harry Smith languishing down in the top 8. Just goes to show how close it is. You can be pole 1 week and then P10 the next.
Yeah, indeed. That is I think, a tough cookie for Harry Smith, but perhaps he's got a good strategy for the race coming up, and maybe he will be able to get through the field up to top 5, maybe even a podium for him. We'll have to wait and see for that. First, though, we're going to go on board with Michi Hoyer for a lap around this Portugal GP track. Let's see what he has to say about it.
This is Formula Sim Racing. My name is Michi Hoyer. Welcome, guys, to the track presentation for round 2 of the 2021 Formula Sim Racing season. We are at Portugal. We are going around the final turn to start our track presentation lap for round 2 on the bumpy circuit here at Portugal, and we're going across the line into the best overtaking spot on the track. Turn 1, heavy braking zone. Be aware though, bumps in the braking zone make lock up your fronts very easily. Heavy on the traction. We go into turn 2. Make sure to not take the curbs too hard, as there are more bumps that can set you off. Same goes for 3 and 4. 2 hairpins going up the hill. Traction is ever so important, but you see the bumps are unsettling the car pretty much, so you need to be alert at all times on this racetrack. Exiting out of turn 4, through 5, going towards 6. A second good overtaking opportunity if you're close enough. But be aware, once you go into the left-hander up the hill, traction is again a bit tricky. Into turn 7, a very late apex right-hander. This is right here where you want to be on the inside of the curb. There's also a little hole that can really screw up your rear, so drivers need to be aware. Turn 8, pretty quick. Turn 9, need to get a good exit into the final parabolica turn, where it is ever so important that you carry maximum speed onto the long straight, trying to prepare for your move or for your defense into turn 1. Guys, that is 1 lap here around the Portugal circuit, and we're now up for interesting racing to see the drivers battle it out.
Welcome back everyone, we are back again just after qualifying. Mr. Hoyer took you around the lap of this beautiful Portuguese circuit. Of course, just want to say a massive thank you to the sponsors Masita eSports, 3D Rab and SimLab for bringing you today's Academy action. So 3 hot laps were just seen. Qualifying was very, very tight. We look ahead for 44 laps of the race. It's looking to be a tough one, and the grid is so ever so tight. And it is just so close. There's a lot at stake, and everyone's going to be wanting to get themselves off to a good start, off to a good second round of the championship. It's been 2 weeks since the last Academy race. Maybe people are a bit rusty, but Mantis Rikas leads the way in the standings after taking the win last week, ahead of Yellow in P2 in the standings, Palasech in P3. So it is looking tight at the top. The point standings do look pretty good, and Harry Smith down in P7 after what was a pretty lackluster last couple of stints. He had the pole, he had the pace, but just lacked the strategy, and he's going to learn from that, I'm sure, and take that forward for the rest of the season. Learn from his mistakes, and that is the best you can do. He's definitely got the outright pace, currently starting P10, but Mantis Rikas outside the top 10, so not going to be too ideal for him, as Felix alluded to earlier as well. It's not the easiest place to overtake here, but you've got the long back straight to get it done, so still possible for sure. We go, of course, to the starting grid in just a moment. So Pedro Gomez takes pole ahead of Brantholm in P2, Cosmo Pasciuto in P3 and Mossereno in P4. It looks like a very tight top 2 rows.
Yeah, then Frank Hammond in 5th, 6th is Armando Iannacone, 7th Recek Lukczak, and 8th Thomas Andrea Miasoa. In 9th we've got Tommy Litalo. Harry Smith down in P10, not a very good result from him in qualifying, I would say. Garrett Batala 11th, and then 13th George Zalogianis. Zarov in 14th, 15th Gavin Morville, and Indrek Remeets down in 16th position. Then Sergio Obra Lorente in 17th, Massimiliano Ribioli in 18th, Mantas Rikas all the way down in 19th, perhaps a penalty as well there for him. 21st, Roberto Pignataro, Max Huss in 22nd, 23rd, Andrei Marechak, and David O'Reilly in 24th position. 25th, Andrei Borodowski, 26th, Jürgen van Bergen, and 27th, Damian Skowron, 28th, Petr Palacek, and then the last couple of drivers closing off this grid are all ready to get ready for this race, I think.
We are looking ahead. Thank you, of course, to Felix for taking you through the starting grid. Technical difficulties, as always, not much we can do, but they're out there on the formation lap. Gomez leading them around through set the 2, and we're going to be underway very shortly. A very mixed strategy. It looks like we're going half and half. A lot of the drivers opt in for the hard compound tire. Obviously, the new rules in for the 2021 season allow drivers to qualify on whatever they want, and they're allowed to start on whatever they want. They have to change compound in the race as well. So strategy, of course, is going to play a massive factor on a track that, you know, track position can work. If you pit that lap earlier, go that lap longer, it can make a massive difference with the undercut and overcut. I'm sure Felix can agree with me there that, you know, having the fresher tires, having the lighter fuel, it does go a very long way. But you can see everyone reeving around like snakes to get the temperature into their tires ahead of 5 red lights here in Portugal for round 2. Everyone lining up. We're just waiting for Palasech at the back to line up. Everyone's tire is going to be a little bit more cold, and hopefully we can get away a bit more cleanly than we did last weekend. Fingers crossed for that. It seems to be a straight line down to turn 1, so hopefully it shouldn't be as bad. But yeah, nonetheless, we're going to be underway and racing very, very shortly, and it's looking to be a very riveting race.
Yeah, I think Unfortunately, we can't really see the starting lights from this camera position, so just gonna have to wait and see when they go. The lights are coming on right now.
And away we go. We're racing for round 2, and it's a great start for Pedro Gomez, and it looks like Branthol's been swarmed. They're 4 abreast towards the back of the grid, and in the mid-pack, Pedro Gomez just going to hang on to pole position as it stands. Branthol under pressure coming into turn 1. He's going to just about hang on for P2 there, but very, very smoky engines as that. The engines are still warming up. There goes Yilitao. He's trying to get past Frank Hamming coming into here, but you can just see how close they are, and there's no opening at all. Everyone just following single file for the first couple of laps, and Yilitao really struggling to get to grips. But Branthol, he needs to get his head down and catch up to Gomez because he's had a perfect start. This is the ideal situation for Gomez.
Indeed, Gomez with a great start, already leading by over a second to Dave Brantham. Everybody behind that also trying to fit in their positions, get this race going nice and cleanly so far. I think everything has been relatively clean. Currently a yellow flag in the second sector, so has been a small incident with somebody, but overall pretty clean start, especially if you compare it to last week. Coming around the last corner for the first time in the race. I think nobody is really close enough to do anything overtaking wise, at least not in this top 5. Perhaps further down the field, I think we've got Harry Smith and Gerard Batala battling for 11th place. For now, Harry Smith is safe in that 10th place though.
Just about hanging on to his top 10 spot, but you can see they're following one by one, literally a conga line around the circuit, and really struggling. But side by side is Remitz on the inside of Rusinak, just about going to hang on and push him out, take the track away from him, but Scovron is right behind him, looking to take that position if they skirmish a bit too hard. But Gomez 2.2 seconds out in front. This is the most ideal start for him in this race, and everyone behind it struggling. But Rikus with a great start, starting from P19, already up to 15th, and on the hard tyres, he could go for more of a strategical mastermind like he did yesterday and get himself well into the top 10.
Yeah, indeed, I think he's got a good chance if he can get this strategy working nicely. I would say we expect to see the first stops around lap 18, 19, 20. On the soft tires, perhaps a little bit earlier, because those tires do get worn down quite a bit, especially with these very long corners. They ask a lot of these tires, and I think going a full 2021 lap stint, which is roughly what is possible with the amount of fuel that goes into these tanks, is a bit too much for those tires. But on the hard tire, perhaps we might see some people do that.
Could be an interesting strategy. You've got Morville and Rikus going sub-side, 4P14, and Rikus just going to lose out on this occasion, and Morville really hanging on to this position, and Rikus really wanting to get through. Maybe he has a look into the braking zone. If he looks to defensive goes Morville, around the outside goes Rikus. Very committed move, and he's going to get it, use the grip he has, and use the throttle to really turn the car a bit squirmy, and they're still going to be side by side, only for P14, remember, between these two, and they're fighting as if it's the lead for the last lap, but still side by side around this Portuguese circuit. But Rikus is going to take that one and claim the position, and up into 14th. It looks like his qualifying pace isn't reminiscent of his race pace whatsoever, and Rikus once again proving that the race is definitely his strong suit.
Yeah, great move there from Montas Rikus. Ooh, has a little bit of a moment there coming out of the final corner that might allow Morville to get back at him coming into turn 1. Right behind them you also see I think that's Hermates and Scoudon battling. Morville not able to get past for now though, but can get a good first sector, might be able to do something on that straight in the middle of the track coming into sector 2. But of course we saw Mantas having that pace, that raw pace on this these heavier cars, race fuel cars. So I think he'll be able to keep this position for now, but let's see what Kevin Morville is able to do here.
Yeah, indeed, he's just hanging on, trying to work with him. I'm sure Morville would much rather be trying to help Rikus catch Zalio Ganes in front of him rather than battling for 14th, because there's going to be less points on offer for 15th than there is for, the people up in front. And only a second gap. They really need to work together, especially in these early stages. And on a what is at the moment the same strategy. So they want to work together, use each other's racecraft, use each other's pace and their strong suits to work with each other. And if Morville can stick with Rikus in the toe, he's going to be using that and propel him forward up the grid. And Rikus really making indents into Salio Gomez. We've got Zarahov into the pit lane already, whether that's for already coming in for some softs, maybe wanted to go for a lighter fuel hard stint, whatever, but he's into the pits, and he's into the pits very, very early. Not something you often see. That's going to release Rikus to be 7/10 behind Zaliogenis, and he's going to be closing, and through that middle sector we've seen Rikus be absolutely rapid.
Yeah, I think some drivers have chosen to do a very short first stint on that hard tire. Because, like I said earlier, these tanks have a roughly 45 liter capacity. On those 45 liters, you can do about 20-21 laps in one stint. So, after those first 4 laps, you would be able to get to the end of the race with just 2 more stops. So I think that's what some of these drivers have chosen to do a very short first stint on those hard tires, which are a bit worse than the softs, obviously, pace-wise. And now they've just chosen to go on the soft tire for the next 2 stints, fulfilling the rule that you have to do either do at least both of the tires once during the race. I think it's going to be interesting to see how that works out for them at the end of the race.
Definitely, we saw last week's strategy had massive implications on the end result. We've got Yannick on the back of Prosciutto for P4. The Royal Blue managing to hang on as it stands, but it looks like he's dropping off the pace of the top 3. Still with some good race pace, and we're still around about 39 laps or so left in this race. It's still a long way to go. Can't be making assumptions this early, and we'll just have to see how it plays out through the middle and end stages. But Marashak on the back of Ampetitis, and O'Reilly very much behind, looking for the space on the inside, can't quite find it, looking to go deeper, maybe has a look, selling the dummy, going to lift off and back out of that one and think better of it. And Marachak really looking to get past the man in front of him, but O'Reilly really eager to get past Marachak in front of him, looking maybe into this corner, very, very unnervy, the rear end, that car. Really just trying to follow close to him, but can't quite. He's going to be waiting for the slipstream down into turn 1. Hopefully his raw straight line speed will definitely help him with that. O'Reilly about 4.5 tenths back. There's a car very, very wide. Didn't quite see who's that. Is that Rikus off?
Yeah.
He's damaged and he's off the track. Didn't quite see what happened there. Was it a mistake? There was very tight walls there, but he's definitely going to be in the pits and losing a lot of pace in the Go Speed Racing Team car. Yeah. Into the pits he comes, and last week's race winner really, really not having the most enjoyable race as it stands, and he's going to be into the pits for an early stop. That's going to be playing a massive curveball into his strategy there. See what happens. Is there going to be a replay? So we're on board with Rikus. Where is it going to happen? Into the final corner, chucks it in, gets a bit unnervy over the curb, uses the Astro and into the wall. Very, very easy mistake to do. Nearly collects the car in front of him there, but just about manages to get away cleanly. Well, he didn't get away cleanly, but everyone else did.
Yeah, very unfortunate there for Rikus. Just clipping that outside curb a little bit too much, unsettled the car, and basically threw him off into the wall. He was looking good so far in that first stint, but now, of course, he's going to have to come all the way from the back. And I think, yeah, he's still in the pit lane repairing right now, so basically his race is over.
Very big shame for the man who won and got off such a good start. Last race in Imola, really didn't come into the Portugal race with a lot of confidence, but Yannick and Prosciutto still going at it for P4. Yannick really just trying to stay with him, maybe save some fuel in the slipstream or whatever it might be, but Prosciutto sort of maintained the gap to the top 3, so his pace really being equal, just didn't get the start he would have wanted to be with them, because he's proven that his pace is there. We've also got Frank Hamming closing these two down, so it could be a 3-way fight for the top 4. That could get spicy, and we've seen Prosciutto, Yannick and Hamming all go at it in Imola, and that was a very, very good couple of battles for, I believe it was about P7. This is for a lot higher stakes and a lot higher points, and Hamming is closing. He's got a lot of speed.
Indeed, he is. The HM Engineering car looks to be quite good around here. Frank Hamming currently one of the faster drivers on track. Only Pedro Gomez is quicker at the moment. Gomez doing a great job so far. Almost 7 seconds, 6.5 seconds to Davo Grantham in second position. So Gomez really looking strong. However, how will that work out at the end of the race? Is his strategy going to be enough? Raw pace isn't everything with these cars this year.
Exactly that. Like we saw the Harry Smith last weekend, he had such, or 2 weeks again, I should say, he had such good pace in the opening 2 stints, but that really fell apart towards the end. And maybe Branthal is going for sort of a Mantus Ricas-esque strategy. It could work for him. And Pedro Gomez with great pace as it seems, but doesn't tell the whole story, so could get spicy towards the end of the race. But as it stands, he's doing a very good job out in front.
He is indeed Frank Hemming now on the back of Janne. Will he be able to find a way past him though? Because Janne, of course, also has the slipstream from Pasciuto in front of him, which is not going to help Frank Hemming get the overspeed out of the final corner. So what he can do though, easing in that throttle, being careful, trying to not wear those tires too much. Don't slide the car too much because you will lose the grip of the rear then. And Hemming a bit too far back. I think also top speed wise, these guys have a bit different top speeds. Let's see on the telemetry live timing. Frank Hemming has a top speed of 329. Janne has 336 kph top speed, so that is quite a big difference indeed. A little bit further down the field, we've got Kevin Morville on the hard tire, starting to get some pressure from Indrek Rimmets behind him, but also in his turn putting some pressure on George Zalogianis in front of him, also on the hard tire, very close to the rear of his car right now. Trying to find a way past the blue car in front of him. Very close coming into this final corner. You can keep this close throughout that corner. Loses a bit of time there. I think is now too far back to really make a move coming into that first corner. Has to defend though from Indrek Rimmets behind him. Rimmets has that top speed, but didn't really get close enough to make the move stick. Good defense there from Kevin Morville. Yellow flag in the first sector. What has happened there? I think Dmitry Zarov has had an incident. Let's have a quick look at what happened to him. This is coming into the pit and the replay is a little bit laggy. Oh, seems like a wheel disconnection or something like that. Tires just go all the way to the left at some point. And yeah, that definitely looks like something hardware related. Some sort of client-side issue for him there.
Yeah, definitely very unfortunate when hardware does that. Again, apologies, I'm having a couple of technical difficulties that we're hoping to get sorted, but Janne Kone still on the back of Prosciutto for this fight for P4, and Hemming still lurking there in the background. They just haven't been able to close the gap, especially with the lack of DRS or overtake for this new season. It's making it a very, very tough challenge, and maybe should have run maybe a couple of clicks to the left for the front wing, maybe made it that bit more agile and a bit more slippery in a straight line. But we'll have to see. I believe that's Morville and Riemets going very, very close down and for P13. Yeah. The gap is looking very, very close for them. They're fighting it out. This is only for P13. Down the inside, he goes, has a little look, but can't quite get the move stuck and be as committed as he would like under braking. This is only for P12, but still very, very crucial couple of spots on the standings. Of course, if you get this through now, you want to, because Riemets' soft tires, I'm sure, are going to be looking to come in soon, because they're going to be screaming for help, and he's losing a lot of pace, still managing to keep with the hard tires, but looks like we're hitting that crossover point, we can say, Felix.
Yeah, 13 laps gone. I think indeed. Oh, yeah, there we go. Somebody coming into the pit lane. That is Yannick. No, Prosciutto. Wait, no, I am. It's George Salayanis. Sorry, came into the pit lane for his first stop. Onto the soft tires he goes. Was on the hard tires before this. Relatively long stop, so probably putting a lot of fuel in there. Let's see where he comes out. This pit lane is a bit interesting, of course, because you basically still do the first corner in the pit exit, and then you rejoin the track. Can be quite tricky, as it's difficult to know if there's somebody coming through turn 1 there, but everything went well there. But yeah, Salajan is all the way down to 24th place, but of course that is taking into account that nobody else around him had pitted yet. Let's see what is happening here. A very slow Netrix of Jurgen van Bergen there, almost colliding with Salajanis. Salajanis now coming around the outside. Has a bit of a moment there, just about catches the car. Now Jurgen van Bergen tries to attack him once again, but not able to really get that move done. Back at the front, Frank Hamming starting to lose a little bit of time compared to the drivers in front of him. Perhaps has worn his tires a bit too quickly. He's still got the connection, about 6-7 tenths behind the guys in front of him, but it's not as close as he was at some point 2 laps ago. Pedro Gomez is into the pit lane though, for the first time for him after 14 laps. Let's see what he goes on to. I think he goes on to the soft tires. Coming out of the pit lane now. Will be close for him. Quite a bit of traffic, I think. As he comes out right behind Thomas Andrea Miyasoa. It's interesting to see what the other drivers at the front will do. Of course, the gap was about 6-7 seconds already to Devo of Brandholm. Perhaps he can do something different on the strategy though and catch back up to that leader of the race, Pedro Gomez. Brandholm still staying out. Sereno is very close to him right now though. Perhaps looking to get past him before the pit stops. I would expect him to come in the next couple of laps. Probably not too long from now. Ooh, a bit of a slide there from Sereno. Rear tire starting to go off. And he's lost that time now a little bit as well to Dave of Brandholm. Frank Hamming once again closer to Iannacone and Prosciutto. Let's see when these two drivers will start to come into the pit lane. Ooh, somebody else spun around there at the exit of the final corner. I think that was Jurgen van Bergen. Comes into the pit lane right now. Pedro Gomez is making his way up through the field once again. Quite a few drivers coming into the pits for their first couple of fresh tires. Ooh, Gomez A little bit of contact there with Thomas Andrea Miyasoa. Gets up to 7th position now, of course, on those very fresh soft tires. Will be able to get some nice pace in. But needs to be careful, of course, when getting past these other drivers. Harry Smith now his next target. And we see also all the top guys coming into pit lane now, very busy in the pits. Basically the entire top 5 into the pits. Longer stop for Pasciuto, but of course he was a bit further down as well. I think nothing really changed here. Dave Brantham perhaps lost a little bit of time compared to Pasciuto and Frank Hamming. But not too much. Pedro Gomez though, he's got a very comfortable lead compared to these guys now. He is roughly, it's a bit difficult to say, roughly 10 seconds in front of Dave Brantham right now. So that is a very comfortable lead for him, as he's just got him past Harry Smith there. Harry Smith, of course, still on old tires. Old soft tires as well, I should say. So those will be getting to the end of their lifetime and starting to go off the cliff. You can see Harry Smith is struggling with his car as well, as Pedro Gomez is back into the lead of this race. They're very comfortably. As he has got the back marker in front of him now. Gets out of the way nicely there, so that's not a problem for him. Kevin Morville went to the hard tires. But basically most of the other drivers going to his soft, except for Frank Hamming as well, who was right around that top 10 earlier. Max Haas coming into the pit lane now. He'll be going to the soft tire for now. Coming out of the pits in roughly P23. As Roberto Pignataro on soft tires, starting to catch up to Thomas Andrea Miyasoa. Of course, Pignataro with those softs should be able to have a bit of pace advantage. Let's see if he can turn that into an overtake though. To try and stick close through this second sector. Stick close through the final corner as well, and then make his move coming into turn 1. But you can see Pignataro struggling a little bit there. Not able to stick close enough to go for a move. And we'll have to try again the next lap. Got another battle here. Lorente and Salagona is very close to each other also. Patidis not too far behind. I think there's also a back marker in between these two guys. Another Nectrex driver. I think that is probably Jurgen van Bergen. Gets out of the way nicely there for all the other guys to not interfere with this battle too much. Remets into the pits together with Kevin Morville. They opted to do that very short stint right now, I guess. Or there must have been some other incident between the two, but I don't think so. I think they just opted to go for that a very short stint. And now with 24 laps to go, actually, that's going to be difficult. 24 laps to the end is not really possible. These tanks go about 21 laps if you stretch it. So I think that's going to be interesting to see what they are doing. Or was that just their first pit stop? That could be the case too. Yes, I think it was just their first pit stop. That is my mistake indeed. So they will be doing that short stint later on. I think they will be putting quite a bit of fuel in that car now. And going for another 18 to 20 laps. Got Batala getting closer to Lubchak. Altas Rekus, after his incident, starting to make his way back up through the field. Up to P18 he goes right now after overtaking Laurent there. But still a very tough race for him. After he was looking to get at least a decent result if he was able to get some strategy working. Of course, qualifying didn't go the best for him. But after that, after crashing into the wall out of Sector 2, was not really able to battle for the top 10 anymore. But working his way up now in P18. Kevin Morville very close to Thomas Andrea Miyasoa, side by side there. And Morville able to just get past him. He's on that soft compound tire, just a little bit more grip. He was able to take full advantage of that grip advantage and get past Andrea Miyasoa there. Andrea Miyasoa is a little bit too far back as well to try and get back to him. Coming down the start-finish straight as we just passed the halfway mark of this race. And Harry Smith just coming out of the pit lane now, as he did his first stop just now. That is interesting to see indeed. Very close with Salogianis there. Salogianis going on the inside, making the move stick on Harry Smith. Smith now needs to watch out for Ampatidis, as he is also right behind him. Very close, also on that soft tire, looking to go around the outside. That's very tight indeed. Dives it up the inside. Space given by Harry Smith, but not enough for Ampatidis to make the move stick. Still on the outside there, but I think he's just a little bit in a difficult spot to make that move stick indeed. Harry Smith keeps that position for now, but let's see what they can do coming out of the final corner. That's still going to be important. Ooh, almost loses the car. That's not a great thing to have. And that's going to allow Ampatidis to really get close and probably make the move stick right now. Coming down start-finish straight, side by side. Quite a bit of top speed on that Netrex GP car into turn 1. Indeed, that extra top speed helped him to keep the position for now, but second corner is also to the right. That's going to be very tight, and they make contact indeed. Both spinning around, keeping it out of the wall, only just. Harry Smith briefly touched the wall there with his rear wing. I think it's still attached to his car, so no problem for him there, but that's not what you want to see, of course. Frank Hamming still behind Pasciuto. This has been going on basically the entire race. I mean, just able to stick behind Pasciuto, but not really able to make a move. Either he doesn't have the top speed, or he just not able to get close enough coming out of that final corner. Harry Smith had another incident, I believe. Perhaps having some damage on the car as well, which will not be helping him. But all the way down to P23 behind David O'Reilly now. So his race has really gone from bad to worse. Montas Rekus, another one that had an incident earlier on. Right now up to P16. But has some pressure from Andrej Madacek from behind. Madacek on soft tires, Rekus also on soft tires. But Rekus' soft tires are 18 laps old. Basically at the end of their life. And Madacek only has 7 laps on this. As we see Scoudon coming into the pit lane there together with Roberto Pignataro. They're doing their second stop of the day. Looking to go to the end of the race after this. With 19 laps to go. That is definitely possible fuel-wise. Of course, tires is still going to be difficult. Max Haas battling with Ampatridis now. He is of course involved with that incident earlier on. Ooh, Max Haas almost loses the car. He did lose the car into the wall. He goes and I think lost the front wing. No, still attached there. Very lucky to survive that slide. Harry Smith now going around the outside. Ooh, a bit of contact again. As Max Haas went wide. Ooh, and contact again. Putting Harry Smith into the wall there. Not exactly sure what happened there. Let's have a look at the replay. So we're on board here with Max Haas. Side by side coming into this corner. A little bit of contact made indeed. Then after that. Ooh, I think Harry Smith just lost it on power there on his own. And then Max Haas had no way to avoid that. That is unfortunate for Harry Smith indeed. And I think his race is, well, like I said before, gone from bad to worse.
It really is. But finally I'm back after some technical difficulties. Yannick Kone still with Hamming right in front of him. So it looks like this battle has actually continued all the race. And Hamming just managed to get in front of him with his hard tyres. Past the halfway mark in this race, and Yannick Kone is not going to be wanting to have any of that. Still in the slipstream and Hamming on the back of Prosciutto. Now these two been duking it out pretty much all race, but Yannick Kone with a sudden burst of speed, really quick down this straight and down into the braking of turn 1, really got to maximise it, really closing down. But a weird incident between Harry Smith and I believe it was Maracek as well. They sort of got unscathed with it originally, and then sort of just Harry Smith got a bit of a tank slapper coming off, and that really did not help this situation one bit. But Yannick Kone still on the back of Hamming. He's on the back of Prosciutto, so still very close between these four. We've also got Macareno on the back of Branthal. They were fighting for the net race lead earlier in the race, but Pedro Gomez just been flying. 17 seconds clear at this midpoint of the race. Can he be stopped?
That is a good question indeed. I think even if Brantham or anybody else around that was a masterful strategy now, that gap is just too big. Gomez, he's basically got it in the pocket. Of course, he's got everything to lose as well, so he still needs to get to that finish line cleanly without doing any mistakes. But if you keep going as he is, he should be golden for the win here. Got our Batala closing into Lukchak. We'll be racing. Both of them, of course, probably will be not fighting too hard between each other. At least I would expect. Kevin Morval, however, might be able to put on a little bit more of a fight. Since he's, of course, from a different team. But let's see if he's able to do anything to them. Morville is on 8 lap old tires, and Lukchak and Batala both on 13 or 12 lap old tires. So a little bit of an advantage for Morville, but it's not too great an advantage. So he'll be struggling to get past Battala, I think, unless he gets a good exit out of this final corner. Battala had a little bit of a wiggle there, almost loses the car, and that allows Morville to get right past him. And Battala, I think, doesn't choose just yet to go into the pit lane, but his rear tire is really struggling there coming out of that final corner. Talked about this in the preview. These rear tires really start to get worn down, and the drivers start to struggle later on in that stint. That final corner really wears down those tires a lot, and it is quite difficult to keep the car pointing in the right direction then, as you just saw with Gerard Battala. Patrick Ruzinak into the pit lane for his final stop. Going on to another set of the soft tires. Relatively short stop for him. It's only 14 laps to go now. As we see a battle there, I think that was Montes Recus with his teammate Roberto Pignataro. Those Speed Racing team drivers having a bit of fun there, down in P20 and P21. Pignataro on 4-lap old tires and Montes Recus on 2-lap old tires, so that's basically equal. However, Recus at the moment's able to stay in front of Pignataro. However, I don't think Pignataro is going to leave it at that. Going a little bit deep here though, not going to help. As Pedro Gomez has also done his final stop just now. As Indrek Remets comes into the pit lane as well. Quite a few other drivers in as well. Dave of Brantham, of course, we saw the other top 5 go quite a bit longer in that first stint compared to Pedro Gomez. Gomez now has basically 14 laps to the end of the race, and he's about 9 seconds behind the leader of the race, currently Dave of Brantham, but he of course still has to stop. So after those stops, Pedro Gomez should be able to safely lead this race once again. Orserino at the front. Still quite close to Dave of Brantham. Behind them is a back marker. You shouldn't have to worry about that. Kevin Morville starting to close into Italo. A bit of a mistake there from Italo. Going to allow Morville to close up right to his rear wing. Morville needs to make sure he doesn't lose the car there though. Onto that outside curb, almost lost it. Able to keep the car pointed in the right direction though. But has to start all over as he catches up to Italo. However, Italo comes into the pit lane, so that has given the position back to Kevin Morville for free, of course. Gomez now up to P3 after the drivers pitted. Invictus driver nicely getting out of the way there for the blue flags. And Gomez now closing into Pasciuto and Brantham even more, as they are surely going to be stopping in the next couple of laps. 12 laps to go in this race. Torino and Morville close, but I think Morville, yeah, indeed coming into the pit lane right now, so he'll be going into his final stint now as well. Let's see what tires he goes into. I think it's another set of the soft tires yet, the hard tires at the first stint. Yeah, indeed. So he already complied with the tire rule. Now coming out, we'll be rejoining in PN, roughly. Yeah. Hope to stay in front of David O'Reilly, I would assume. But O'Reilly hasn't stopped yet for his final stop either. He's on a set of soft tires right now. Frank Hamming currently fastest driver on the track, with a last lap of an 111.295, pushing those fresh soft tires to the limit, trying to make sure that he can hopefully come out, or when Prosciutto comes out, then that he is in front of him. Prosciutto right now coming out of his box as Frank Hamming came out of the final corner there. This will be quite close, I think, on board here with Frank Hamming. Prosciutto is in the pit exit right now, and I think Hamming is right in front of him. It's actually quite easily in front of him. Prosciutto just about 3 seconds, 2.5 seconds behind him right now. So Frank Hamming finally able to get past him on strategy this time, however. And now he needs to keep things together and just get to the end of this race. Perhaps able to get a podium as well. Dave of Brentum, of course, hasn't stopped yet. He's taking a very long second stint. First stint was 17 laps long. This stint is going to be 18 laps long as he comes into the pit lane right now for his final stop. Let's see where he comes out. Going to a set of the hard tires for his final stint. Relatively short pit stop, of course. Only a few laps of fuel needed to go into that car. Side by side with Frank Hamming there. Frank Hamming just about behind him now. This will be interesting. Frank Hamming, of course, on those soft tires will have the pace compared to Dave Brantholm's harder compound. But of course, he's going to lose a bit of pace as the stint goes on further. The crossover point between these tires will start to come, I would say, later, the four laps to go about that, but there's only 9 laps to go in this race, so Hamming really needs to try and get past Dave of Brantholm as soon as possible. Out of the final corner, Hamming struggling a little bit. This has been a theme throughout this entire race, really. Hamming not able to stay close enough out of that final corner to really do anything, but I think this time it's good enough. He's got the slipstream. Gonna go around the outside coming into turn 1 there. It's gonna be enough. Tries to go for a switchback. Dave of Brantholm able to keep in front though. Good exit out of that first corner. Hamming perhaps can try to do something out of sector 2 on that middle straight. Just to get a good exit out of this corner then though. Has a bit of a wiggle, that's not going to help him. So you have to once again line himself up out of the final corner. A bit of a wiggle from Dave of Brantholm there. Is that going to be enough for Hamming? Doesn't really have the exit speed as there's a yellow flag in sector 1. I think that is Thomas Andrea Miasoa that's had an incident. Hamming too far back this time indeed. Andrea Miasoa is indeed parked alongside the track and is out of this race. Let's see what happened to him in a replay. Yep, there we go. A little bit laggy. Is that an engine failure? That looks very peculiar. Just parks the car alongside the road. The engine's still running. You can hear it. So I don't know exactly what happened there. But he's out of the race. Unfortunate for him. Frank Hamming not able to get past David Brentham just yet. But once again, very close to the back of him. Only 7 laps to go though. He's gonna have to start making some moves. He wants to get into this podium. Again in the slipstream, but I think he's just a little bit too far back. Having a peek, trying to unsettle Dave Brantham as he looks in his mirrors, but Brantham able to keep composed and stay in front. It's important for him to not make any mistakes now. Edward Gomez still leading by 19 seconds almost now. Oof, Frank Hamming also almost losing it there, coming out of that left-hander. Luckily able to save it though. Good catch from him, but that's not going to help his rear tires whatsoever. Out of the final corner there. Once again for him, but now definitely too far back to do anything. I think somebody that has really gone under the radar so far has been Damien Scoudon. He was able to win the amateur race earlier today and it's moved himself up to P7 already in this field. Started from the back of the race, back of the grid, sorry. And going up to P7 is definitely a very nice result from him. And I think he'll be looking to perhaps get a promotion in the next race and go into the Academy Series permanently. Because so far it's looking to be a very comfortable place for him. As he's starting to close into Yanakone. Bit of a mistake there from Yanakone. A bit of a wiggle. You saw Skodon had to lift off a little bit there. But I think with the slipstream should be able to make the move now coming into turn 1. Closing in. Onto the inside he goes. And makes the move stick indeed. Nicely done. Fairly straightforward, but still important to get right. And up to P6 he goes now. Definitely a very good achievement from the back of the grid. Kevin Morville and Italo in 9th and 8th place. So very close to each other still. These two have been at it for the entire race. Italo on hard tires, Morville on soft tires. Which will mean Morville has a little bit more grip. Still right now, but potentially as this goes further and further, that grip will start to fade away towards those harder compound tires. But there's only 3 laps to go. Morville really needs to get past him if he wants to get the 8th position. Frank Hamming, I believe, is also close once again to Dave Brantham. A little bit too far back to make a move here. he wants that podium, he's really going to have to fight for it. Pedro Gomez comfortably leading still. He basically doesn't have anything to worry about. Getting closer and closer, but again, just struggles to get the power down, struggles to get a good exit, and then just loses the time that he gained. Oof, it was very deep there. Biggest tires are starting to fade away indeed. With 2 laps to go after this. Not looking great for him. Too far back this time around once again. Kevin Morville, however, is a bit closer to Italo. Let's see how this exit goes. I think he's a bit too far back. Oof. Maybe a bit of a mistake there, I think, from Italo. He's trying to break the slipstream and successfully able to do so, indeed. Morville not able to close in enough to make the overtake just now. Pedro Gomez is about to enter the final lap of this race. Frank Hamming then has only a few more attempts to get past Devo of Brantham for that podium. It's not looking too great for him. Out of the final corner. Once again, needs a good exit, but I don't think he really got it. Indeed, a little bit too far back once again. Devo of Brantham, a little bit of a lock up there coming into turn 1. Able to keep it tight through that corner though, so no problems for him. Pedro Gomez, he's entering the final sector for the final time. Basically an absolute domination. Oh god, Pedro, I would just I would try not to crash on the final lap of the race. He managed to keep it together there, but you can see he's still pushing to the limit here. And his car starting to really struggle a little bit on those tires, but nonetheless takes victory here. A great race from Pedro Gomez for Valle eSports. Takes his first victory of the season here at the Portugal GP track. And a very nice result for him indeed. Cristiano Mosserino will be finishing in second, 15 seconds behind it. Pedro Gomez really dominated that race. Frank Hamming very close to the back of Devo of Brantham, but it's not enough for the podium. And Brantham gets that 3rd position for now. Pasciuto was involved in that top 3 battle, but not really able to get in front of Frank Hamming for now. Perhaps strategy playing into that a bit. Yanakona in 7th, and of course it's not... I shouldn't skip over Damian Scauron, who did a very nice race as well. A bit of a silent race, but a very nice race from the back of the grid all the way up to P6. Kevin Morville and Tommy Italo finishing in 8th and 9th. Gerard Battala in 10th. Indrek Rimates in 11th. Gerard Lutzak in 12th. Maracak in 13th. It was a very close finish, I believe, there, coming across the line. Massimiliano Ribioli in 14th. And last point finisher is Salo Giannis. Indeed, a very nice race. And I would say quite a dominant race from Pedro Gomez. As we have a look at the official results, or non-official results, I should say, actually, of course, post-race protests and incident checks will still be done later in the week. But for now, indeed, Pedro Gomez taking the victory here today with an absolute domination of a race. Christian Mosserino in second, and third on the podium we've got Denov, Grantham, Frank Hamming in fourth, Cosmo Pasciuto in fifth, Damian Scarbron in sixth, Armando Iannacone in seventh, Tommy Italo in eighth, Kevin Morville in ninth, and Gerard Batala in 10th position. Great race today, indeed, and of course it's not the last bit of racing that we'll see today. We've still got the Pro Championship coming up in roughly 30 minutes time, when they will start their qualifying, and of course the main event of the day, the World Championship, coming at 19:45 GMT. Make sure to stay tuned for that as well later on today. Of course, in 2 weeks time we also have the next Academy Championship race, which will be the German Grand Prix. German Grand Prix will be at the Nürburgring, so surely that's going to be a nice race as well. I'm just trying to get the championship standings ready as well. Not sure if we can get those in time, but of course it's going to be a big blow for Mantas Rekus, because he finished quite far down. That is of course a bummer for him, but he'll have to come back next race stronger and try to fight back for the win once again. So we are just getting those standings right now, which will be having a bit of a view of how the championship standings would look indeed. So let's have a look. This would be the season standings coming out of the second race. Mantas Rekus, no points, which means he drops back to second. And Tommy Italo, even though he didn't have the best race, as in he didn't even have a podium, will be leading this championship from now on. Pedro Gomez coming in 25 points, tying with Mantas Rekus for their second place. Championship, of course, only in the second round, still 10 to go, but it is already looking to be a very interesting one. However, it is time for us to tune off for today. Thank you all very much for watching, of course. My name has been Felix van Delft. Sweeney unfortunately had some technical issues, which caused him to drop out, but I'm sure we'll sort that out for next week. Until then, though, I wish you all the best.